that's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right. It's all in life.
And it is 12:30 p.m. So you know it's time for Road to Success, the journey. Now, music, law, politics, and content creation. Few can wear so many hats, but Isat Buchanan isn't your average Jamaican. From reggae singer to fierce human rights attorney, and now stepping boldly into the political arena as the PNP candidate for East Portland, Isat proves that versatility isn't just a skill, it's a lifestyle. Isat, good afternoon, and thank you so much for taking time out of your literally busy schedule because I saw you moving about, working to make this interview happen. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Kishima, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Right. No, there is only one way we can kick off this interview is to get started with your foundation. What was it like growing up with Big Youth as your father?
Oh, well, I didn't know Big Youth was Big Youth until I probably was until I was a teenager. I'd go places with him and people would be, going crazy over him. And I was like, that's just daddy. What's that about? So literally, it wasn't until I was a teenager that I knew significantly who my father was. And it was not until I started traveling when I was old enough to travel, that I realized that he was a big deal. He was the big in Big Youth. So apart from that, mommy run the house. Mommy was the goddess, and so it wasn't until the later years that we realized, hey, our dad is doing something big.
In terms of life lesson, what would you say is a standout lesson that you learned really early from your mom and your dad that still resonates with Isaac Buchanan, the man today?
All right, I start with my mom. My mom says, silver and gold will vanish away, but a good education will never decay. I say that in the context that I hated school,
Really?
hated reading. Yeah, man. It is just few teachers that you'll come across in your education experience that will cause you might say, I love one and two subjects, but school was not something that I enjoyed or something that I liked. So for the youths out there, I do know how you feel when you don't want to do school and stuff like that. But my mother was correct when she said, no matter what you want to do in life, you must get an education. I was forced to get my CXCs, and I was forced to go to UA. And if not for that, I probably would not be here talking to you right now. So that's a life lesson from mom. But my father, he would have taught me about integrity. He would have instilled in me more than anything that, listen, no matter what it is, you cannot sell your soul for vanity. So it is through hard work that you'll get where you're going, and you need to be very careful because as your people will steal your innocence. That's what I learned from my father.
Wow, those are two powerful lessons, though. So, looking back at your high school years, going through, I think it's Meadowbrook High School,
Yes.
did you have any standout experiences like from early on that cemented in your mind that you wanted to be great?
I had a teacher, and I'm gonna scandal him in and he might. I hope he don't hear this. Mr. Taff was a chemistry teacher at Meadowbrook High School. He had a car called Betsy. The most I can tell you is I knew I had to do something big because if I ever go around driving Betsy, I would be like the Minister of Finance about getting a Pro Box now. But let me not take any cheap shots. But even then, Betsy was a $2,000. But that was a standout moment for me because I wanted to be a gynecologist,
Oh,
and
wow.
you needed all three science subjects to even start to undertake that. So Meadowbrook High School, under the stewardship of Dr. Morris, was at the time when I was going an extraordinary school. May her soul rest in peace, but I never forgot that because no matter where I'm in life, I always remember Mr. Taft, the chemistry teacher.
But even though you wanted to become a gynecologist, I read that you play the piano and the guitar. So was there any part of you that wanted to become an artist like your dad?
No, so you know, people go laugh, you know, but it's very, 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 very difficult to be a second generation entertainer. Only the Marleys can boast about how easy it is to transition through legacy. So while it is that, like the caller said, I never know Isat could sing. I
Mm-hmm.
am double cardboard compared to Big Youth. So
Mm-hmm.
people have never listened to my music outside of the ears of the great Big Youth, and I'm okay with that because I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you this: from doing music, I have a brother, Zambo Tafari. He's the Michael Jackson. I'm the Tito. So you have to get in where you fit in. So thanks to the caller that said, you know, ISAT sounds nice. I'm
Mm-hmm.
aware that I'm the Tito Jacksons and the other Jacksons that nobody liked because I was never the Michael in a musical family, and I'm okay with that.
At what point did you, become okay with it? Did you know this like from earlier or it's over time as you matured?
No, so you all right. So the brother that I speak of, I really, really, when I tell you I love my brother, it's like I'm a fan of my brother. But you can tell. So I'm doing music. We're doing music together. His part always sounds better than mine. I was never, and I don't ever recall really doing music without my father and my brother. So I was always fifth wheel, if you call it that. I'm the
Mm-hmm,
spare
mm-hmm.
tire, not necessarily having
Oh
the,
gosh.
the and like I said, I'm okay with
Okay.
that
Mm-hmm.
because I also knew that I was multifaceted, multi-talented. I always knew that. There are many things that I was able to do, so it was never if this didn't work out. So I can take this opportunity to tell you about the music industry in Jamaica. So kudos to all the young artists who found their way and found their niche, including the influencers from TikTok to YouTube who found a niche market for themselves because the industry is unkind to talent.
Mm-hmm.
The industry is unkind and is riddled by nepotism. And I'm going to even say maybe that's okay as well because that's the world. But sometimes I feel that if we gave the platform to many other artists, there is somebody for every. There is 100,000 people
Mm-hmm.
for everybody who has music because music is freedom and music is liberation. I don't think that at any point in my career that I had that opportunity. And while I waited, and people would say, "Your father have money, him for spend it," or other things that you'd had to have to do to get a platform. I had a conversation with my brother and I said, I'm going to find something else to do. So it's whilst waiting on the music that
Mm-hmm.
the attorney surfaced.
Okay. Well,
And music for me is pure pleasure. I will put a new album out tomorrow and I don't care if it sells 100 million copies because I do it for the fun and the love, and it's my outlet to freedom of expression.
okay, so we get that. So it's basically a hobby. But let's talk about
Yeah.
now after you left high school, because here it is, you understood very early that you didn't like school. You wanted to become a gynecologist. You gave us that outline as it relates to needing the sciences. What was your plan
Mhm.
of action when you leave high school? What was next for ISAT?
Plan of action: you leave high school and you have a mother saying you're 18 now, come out of my house. All right, let me put that because that's the story of everybody who I think that I can now be in a position to give guidance to young people because we're young one day and we wake up on our 18th birthday and suddenly we are adults. I still don't figure out how that works, but that's what the system does to us. The minute I get out of high school and you realize that medical money to turn doctor is a whole heap of money, you know you're gonna have to reconfigure. And I can tell you, I have siblings who much more brighter than me, that were not that much older than me. Shout out to Tanasha. She celebrated her birthday on the 10th of March. Brilliant sister, and she was the one that's heading to the university and doing all of that. So I had to reconfigure. I immediately knew that I had to do something else, and did all the business subjects. And um, I must tell you, at that point, during that transition, it was not long after that I got in trouble.
Let's talk about that. And what was your dad's reaction, at 17 when you had a running with the law?
Oh, wow. At 17, when I had a run, my father cries for everything. If he's hearing this, he might cry
No, not
now.
big youth.
No, yeah, man. Listen, let me tell you, if nobody loves me in this world, I know that my father loves me.
Wow.
And the circumstances, I won't rehash the circumstances
Mm-hmm.
on your program because it's properly ventilated in the space. But got myself in trouble at 17, a juvenile. It is a juvenile conviction, not recorded as one where it is to be in a public space, but politically it's out there. I'm fine. Um, and he was so hurt because, as I said, my father, he makes it clear. You can tell him anything. Anything that you need, he provided. I was never
Mm-hmm.
short of anything. I was duped, and duped is the word to use, because whatever that situation was, and without having to relive it, I found myself going to trial represented by Bert Samuels, excellent representation, and um, I was found guilty, notwithstanding if the word was snitching. I told them who gave me what I believed to be money. I told them where they lived. I told them all of that, and there was no investigation any further than what was said, and I was
Mm-hmm.
found guilty.
Did at that point when you were being represented by Bert Samuels and you're in court, did it appeal to you at that point that this is something that you could do,
Oh,
or
well, I gotta
you're
tell
just
you,
in
two things
problems?
happened. I'm gonna tell you why it's important to have proper representation and influence in your life. Watching Bert Samuels represent me before the court. If you want
Mm-hmm.
to know about opulence, if you want to know about royalty, so this is a superior black man. I'm gonna use those words for Bert, and this is in his heydays too, young Bert Samuels, and he's speaking, and them time there, we know say you could speak the Queen's English like Bert, and with Bert is like Your Honor. My client has indicated my instructions are he was not aware of the contents of the package. And I'm like, what? I'm young, so I'm 17. I'm like, wow. And I turned to him and I said, boy, Bert, say I want to be a lawyer like you. Bert gave me the look like, little boy, if you don't sit down, sister, you're about to go to prison. But
Whoa.
he gave me the best representation, and he made me
Mm-hmm.
miss prison. Let me put it that way. I
Yeah.
miss mass incarceration, the type of incarceration that is currently out to destroy young people's lives when they make mistakes. And he prevented that. So I'm forever grateful to Bert. But also, I had experienced and encountered Justice Martin Gale, who removed himself he gave bail and removed himself from the case because he said he could not at that time believe what was there, and he recused because he could not believe that
Mm-hmm.
we were in trouble, and he didn't take the case.
Wow.
Fast forward years later, it was Bert Samuels and the same judge who presided over my calling to the bar. So that was an historical moment for
Full
me.
circle. Wow. But
Mhm.
before we get to that full circle moment, though, here
Yeah,
it
yes.
is. You have young Isat picking up the pieces, but then you
Mhm.
were also later convicted in the US for drug trafficking and
Let me
given
tell you.
10
Let me tell
years
you about that one now.
in a
So
federal
after me,
prison.
let me explain that one now. After my experience, um, I find myself at the United Theological College of Jamaica. Because I tell you, say, after my brush with the law, I said, never again would I ever find
Mm-hmm.
myself in any problems. So much so, I'm going to become a preacher. And I go to the theological seminary and I'm doing New Testament interpretation, Old Testament interpretation, Christology. I'm
Oh,
full
wow.
gamut of the Bible. I read the Bible from start to finish. Just know this. And I was determined to be productive. And on the same day, I never forget it. It was November 4th. The same day, 3 years later, I got off a plane in the United States, and a classmate from Meadowbrook was on the plane or in the where somewhere in the, and said that
Mm-hmm.
asked me to call his mother. Eventually said, "Hey, the immigration or customs officer said you can't have communication. Come with me." And I was detained, and the next thing I know, I'm a kingpin.
Oh, wow.
And then fast forward, I was convicted for conspiring with myself to bring drugs, and the young man was found not guilty.
What was that?
So
Before I ask you my next question, stick and stay. We have a quick time signal. Don't go anywhere.
no problem. Mhm.
Spark Jamaica will enhance roads, water systems, and telecoms connectivity. Spark the next chapter and build a brighter future with us. The Time by Spark, a program of the Government of Jamaica, is.
It is now 12:46. If you're just joining us, we are on the road to success and we're journeying with none other than Isat Buchanan. So here it is, Isat, young Isat in a federal
Mhm.
prison in the United States. Were you terrified? What was that experience like?
Oh man, I the most I can tell you is young people, you need to know math so that when people throw numbers around, you understand what they're saying. And I'm saying this because I was sentenced after being found guilty. There's a thing where lawyers and judges they speak over your head.
Mm-hmm.
So they're talking and you don't even know they're talking about you, and they're discussing and mitigating circumstances that you don't even know it's you. And the judge just look at me and say, "Get up, Mr. Buchanan. You are uh, sentenced to 120 months." How long did it take me to figure out that 120 months was 10 years? I do,
Wow.
I'm not sure, but when I figured it out, I just knew that I could not figure out how or what. Like 10 years is a very long time. And to ask a 20-year-old to figure out what 10 years would be or what you'd be doing, of course I was terrified. And then you watch prison movies and you everything's about shanking and murder and all of that. I was like, boy, I don't know how this is gonna work. But I must
Mm.
say to you, it was a non-violent offense, and America has the Bureau of Prisons in America has a prison system that is a humane system, a federal prison. So I went to um, a low ranked or a
Mm-hmm.
low class prison
Mm-hmm.
in terms of level. The level is low. So it was the offense was there, but you had freedom of movement. Um, the minute that I got there, they took me to the education department. So I was working in the education department. From that, it was in Pennsylvania, I remember, and it was not still today as I'm talking to you, there are people who live the living conditions of the average Jamaican was not as prestige as where I was.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm painting the best picture, but
Mm-hmm.
the first time I knew about inhumane conditions was when I became an attorney and realized that persons were incarcerated like animals. So
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in a bad place. I worked in the education department. By the time I left there, I must have had um, close to 100, 78 thereabouts, closer to 100. I'm just that I assisted Jamaicans to get their GED. Some of them I've seen since.
Oh wow.
And just generally, I was in the law library and the education department, and I did great work. Let me say it that way.
Okay. So I
So that's
guess,
how I passed my time.
I guess keeping busy, that in itself provided you with hope as opposed to seeing your life as being completely over.
That's correct. And God, my experience with God would have been through, when I say experience, because I went to the United Theological College and I was never grounded in God save and except through my experience. And I found myself trying to understand religion, finding religion, and through that, I would have interfaced with the Nation of Islam. I would have interfaced with Christianity, Rastafarianism, and understanding in terms of how to communicate with God. And so my relationship with God is one which I don't expect anyone to judge, but I know that God is present in my life, and I fear nothing
Wow. So,
from my
so
from my experience.
So here it is now, after you did some 9 years and so, and you are returning to Jamaica as a deportee. What were some of the challenges that you experienced? Big youth son get deported. Well, I mean, talk to us
Well,
about that.
I'm laughing in my head because I'm like, if somebody tell me Buju song would apply to me in my life, I'd never believe it. But yeah, boy, get the port come down.
Yeah.
Broke
Oh
on the
gosh.
money, but Big Youth was there to pick me up. I never forgot that. It was it was the fear of the unknown. And I can tell you, it is for persons now are either just was deported, persons are subject to deportation. This I'm happy to share this now because I was afraid. I was scared of what Jamaica would look like. I was scared of how people would treat me, how people would view me, what my experiences would be like, and how I would be judged. Um, I was completely disconnected from the Jamaican society and the Jamaican experience, and I was afraid. And I can tell you, I came home and deported. Let me stress that. And everything that I was afraid of came to fruition because if something happened, police was at your gate saying, "Where the deportee boy there?"
Oh
People
wow.
who knew that you were deported. If you were in a job, um, they even after disclosure, because that's one thing I knew. I've never been embarrassed about my prison experience. So I speak about it so that people won't ever try to use it to embarrass me. So when somebody say, "Oh, the two-time convicted drug dealer," you're just blowing hot air because it's my experience and I lived it and I survived it. So I speak about it so other people can understand that it's not your end. But I had bad experiences in terms of treatment, stigma. If something happened, um, you would get blamed for it. And the funny thing about it is that my road to law or transition to law was from an experience with being called a deportee.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that experience, that specific experience that led you to pursuing law.
All right, so well, I would have to tell you the part where I completed my music album, Lovers Rock, and I met a Baba in Jamaica, and he came from Africa, Nigeria, and my aunt took me to him, and he's to bless the album because I'm gonna be a big star. Yes, and I
Artist.
have my album ready to drop because I put out music and them time video out and Anthony Miller premiere it on
Hey.
ER and but the world was mine until I went to this barber and he had 5 stones in his hand and we're sitting down getting ready to bless this music and he drops the stone on on the CD, and the Stones went pishoo, pishoo, pishoo. And nobody had to tell me. Double blast, double cardboard, not happening. And he looks at me and he says, do you have a brother? I say, yeah, I have a couple of them. He says, no, one that does music. I say, yeah. And he says, well, let me tell you, he's Michael and you are Tito. That's where that came from.
That's where the Tito
But
come from. Oh God.
yeah, but more than that is, he said, but don't worry, you're gonna be an attorney. You're gonna help your brother and your father. He just told me this, and
Oh
I'm
wow.
not saying you're not gonna do music. It's just that you are gonna
It's
be a
not your
great
way.
attorney. And I told him he was a fraud. I was so angry. My aunt took me there, and I drove straight home to go to complain to my aunt. Left her at the location and had to go back for her. That's
No
how
way.
I was like, my world is shattered now because the music was my plan A.
Mm-hmm.
And by 2011, I never forget it. It was sometime in the summer, and I had a tenant that would not pay rent. So yes, my parents owned property, and I was the landlord.
Landlord. Mm-hmm.
The landlord, and I'm a real estate agent as well. So I was competent in doing the work that I was doing. And let me tell you, the lady just decided that she's not paying the rent. And when I asked for the rent, she offered to pay me in an alternative method. Yes, usually if you go to the parish of Portmore, it's now a parish, so them say. Yes, the roads of back. It was
No
payment in
way.
that form.
Cash
So anyway,
our kind.
I'm just telling you, and I refused. And before I know it, police is coming to say that I trespass. So they took me out. They took me from my house, putting it nicely, arrested me. So you would be surprised that I found myself in handcuffs. And I was accused of trespassing on property that was belonging to my family.
Wow.
And I went to court, and Justice Pusey was there. I spoke up for myself, and she said, you talk so nice and you look so nice. You should go find law. You should go do law, man. An attorney was in there, and when I was walking out, so she dismissed the matter because obviously you can't trespass on your own property. The
Mm-hmm.
officers never
Mm-hmm.
came, and I don't know what that was about. But when I walked out, a lawyer came and said, "You heard what she said?" Gave me a card and said, "Come to my office."
Wow.
And I was given a job as a paralegal. And from there, the same lawyer said, sign me up after a year and said, you need to go to law school because you're bright. And I got
That
accepted,
was it.
and the rest is history.
Was it did you feel any type of way like, going to law school as an adult, while, you probably have younger people than you?
Listen, you ever hear about old people discrimination? That's the only reason why I don't tell people like, well, let me behave myself. That's the reason why I have respect for the dinosaurs who remain in politics. Because what they did to me when
Mm-hmm.
I was going to law school at 34, and these little 18-year-olds would say, so what did this old man, what him doing in the class? And they'd just be so rude. And then I found the remedy for that, and I got them really good. There was a contest called Mr. and Miss Law, and I
Mm-hmm.
entered.
Did you
And they said,
win?
why is this old man entering? But I entered and I won.
Hey.
So it shut them down after that, and it was smooth sailing after that.
Oh, wow, what an interesting
Yeah.
story. We have Cashpot coming up and we have to take Cashpot. So stick and stay, don't go anywhere. We'll continue the conversation.
Oxymaster make everything
Okay.
cleaner.
The time by Oxymaster the Stain Blaster is
Take the break.
It is now 12:59. We're standing by. Listen up. Your top draw dollars, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, hot pick, and Cashpot lunchtime draws up next. In the meantime, I've got some music from Isat.
Actions speak louder than words. I tell you about your actions. Actions speak louder than words. My girl, don't want nobody tell me about my girl. She a number one in all my world. I don't care if she deceiving me.
your lucky day. Get your tickets out and let the games begin.
Good afternoon. It is a Thursday, March 13, 2025. I am Taiba and welcome to our 1 p.m. live game draw. Before we begin, here's a quick look at the mid-morning winning numbers. All our games, they're being supervised by the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission and observed by the independent auditing firm PwC. Let's put some money in your top draw. We're at $600,000. Here now are your winning top draw numbers and good luck. Your first number coming down, that's 20. Next up, lucky number 15. Your third number, here it comes, 11. After 11, we have a 9. And just in case you have plans for the jackpot, you're gonna need 10. So now let's pick your play with or dollars game. I hope you're feeling lucky. The winning numbers are coming your way. Let's start dollars off with 14. Next up, we have 29. Your third number coming down is 28. That's followed by the number 10. Next up, dollars. 19. Now, after 19 is the number 26. That's followed by 34. 2 is next. 33. Now, after 33, what will it be? Lucky number 7. 32. And let's wrap things up with 36. So now for some easy winnings with our Pick 2 game. The winning numbers are coming right up. First up, we have 33, your second Pick 2 number, 25. Once again, 33 and 25 are your winning Pick 2 numbers. Up next, you can play 3 ways. That's, of course, a Pick 3 game. Let's go. First up, we have a 9, and next in line, 2, your third and final number is a 4. Once again, 9, 2, and 4 are your winning Pick 3 numbers. It's time to turn up your winnings. Get ready for Pick 4. And first up, that's a 7. Your second Pick 4. 1, the third number coming up. 4, and your fourth and final number is 3. Once more, your winning Pick 4 numbers are 7, 1, 4, and 3. Now it is if a win. What do you say? We heat things up with Hot Pick. Here we go. This afternoon's winning Hot Pick number is lucky number 9. Congratulations to all our Hot Pick winners. Again, your winning number is 9. Now we know you live to play it, but can you win it? Get ready to be a big cash pot winner, and let's see what your winning number will be. This afternoon's winning cash pot number is 15, and the lucky mark is right. Now let's mega your winnings and good luck. What will it be for this afternoon? Here it comes. It is a white ball that has been selected. And no, it's time for the monster winning. So good luck once more. Here we go. What will it be? All right, white ball has been selected. Let's have a look at the winning numbers, and of course, congratulations to everyone who won. Come back at 3 o'clock for more games you love to play. I am Taiba. Have a supreme afternoon.
Hope you were a big winner. Play your favorite Supreme Ventures games every day and tune in for our live draw 6 times a day at 8:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m., and 8:25 p.m. on this station. Supreme Ventures, making winners every day.
That was the lunchtime top draw dollars, pick two, pick three, pick four, hot pick, and cash pot draws. Congratulations to all of today's winners. Join us again at 3 p.m. for another chance to win in hot pick and cash pot special pot draws. If you're just joining us, we are on the road to success and we're journeying with none other than Isat Buchanan. Now, Isat, before we went to the cash pot break, you were talking about attending law school as an adult. And, once you became Mr. Law in that competition, the pieces fell into place in terms of how persons were looking at you. In the interest of time, I'm going to jump through some hoops so we can get to other questions. Um,
Sure.
having lived through both sides of the justice system, though, as an accused and now as a defender, did these experiences kind of, help you in terms of how you relate to your clients and were you more understanding?
Absolutely. I understood that a day in prison for an accused who is cloaked in the presumption of innocence is like 10 years, 1,000 years in thy sight. Let me put it that way. And more so, sometimes when somebody is accused, they're tried in the public. And for you, when you speak to your client and your client says, listen, I didn't do what they're accusing me of, help me. It's easier for me to be able to look at the situation with fresh eyes rather than what's in the public space, because the public not necessarily understanding the law will pass judgment and will just breach the constitution. And so
No.
I have a little bit more compassion and empathy because I've lived the experience. And sometimes for me, I no longer go around trying to say to somebody, well, I'm innocent or I didn't do it, because I understand legally what prison is about, what the justice system is about. And because of that, I'm able to explain to my clients. So it makes a difference in terms of when to plead guilty, when not to plead guilty, what's the ramifications of what you're accused of, and how to get around the stigmas and even
Mhm.
continue to travel in the world,
Um,
notwithstanding.
one of your biggest cases as a lawyer is securing Vibes Cartel's freedom. How did you eventually become a part of his legal team?
Once again, the most honorable and erudite Bert Samuels, whom when I told him I wanted to be a lawyer and he heard that I had graduated, he participated in the calling, and as soon as I was called to the bar, he said, let's go. This is a case that
Mm-hmm.
you're going to do. Go work on it. It's 10 volumes. Go and read it. And I submerged myself into that. And it was a good thing that I read the 10 volumes, because while we were doing the appeal, some issues about metadata came up, and the Valerie Nita King's counsel, may her soul rest in peace. When I was attempting to explain it to her, she says, "Stop right there. You're gonna tell the court. You can do it. I believe in you." And at 6 months at the bar, I was addressing the Jamaica Court of Appeal. Of course, we lost that case, but I made it clear that the decision by the court was wrong. And I communicated that to Mr. Palmer, and she just, he just like a crazy person was like, "You go do the case." I was like, "Okay,
Wow. So I
there
mean,
you go." Yeah.
but beyond the legal window, what did that moment mean to you personally, knowing the odds and even the public pressure surrounding the case and you also being so green?
Well, wow. I wear and I rep orange, so at no time was I ever green, and I don't think anybody on that side can step up to the
Oh my
plate,
goodness.
do that and beat me. The best of them over there couldn't do it, but I did. Shout out to Mr. Tom Savares, Vincent. Anyway, let me just tell you. That's the thing about time that people don't understand the concept of time. I came on the case, as I said, 6 months at the bar, but I argued that case before the Privy Council. So when I was 6 years at the bar. So that's
Mhm.
a significant difference. And 6 years at the bar, I would have taken the government to court about the state of emergency and beat them. Taken them to court about the Rasta case and beat them. several constitutional matters, I would have understood the importance of the presumption of innocence, the power of the Constitution, and I was always advocating. Even before I took the cartel case, I had freed George Williams from prison, who spent 50 years in prison, and so I was doing the work, and I was preparing myself. And they always said that when the student is ready, the master will appear. And the Privy Council did not hear that matter till I was ready. I tell you, that's the intervention of God. But what was important to me is I saved dancehall because cartel is dancehall. I won't get into who is the king and who is not, but I know that he is integral to saving the existence of music. Music that my father contributed to as one of the originators of dancehall. So for me, it was important to me, and I submerged myself into it. And anything I put my mind to, I always achieve it, and it that just solidified my faith in God. My mantra was always God on time. It never changes, and that for that experience, it was um, one of the it was the most popular case I did, but the greatest case for me was the Z Virgo case, the Rasta case, when in 2020, I felt that the Supreme Court disrespected Black identity, Afro identity by accepting that Lice and Junjo was a part of dreadlocks here. Have I gotten over that trauma? No. Will I get over it in my lifetime? Rasta have a long way and a long fight to go. And that's all I will say.
Wow. And you didn't tell a lie in saying what you said regarding cartel and dancehall, because representing cartel wasn't just a high profile case, it was a cultural moment that is cemented in dancehall and reggae as we know it today. But what was most challenging for you though, Isat, during that whole trial? Because one thing people got from you is that they must say, boy, I said make him a want to overconfident, him love the media, him love talk so much, him not afraid, him go say too much.
No, so so people, so I always try to educate the public, and out of that came the my podcast, Context Matters. I don't ever have I don't love the limelight. Cartel is a popular he's popular to Jamaica, and I was his voice at the time. I'm not representing him now because he doesn't need a criminal lawyer now, and so I don't need to be speaking on his behalf. So no, I'm not running behind the camera, and nor do I need to. Um, the case was important. It was a public interest case. At that time, I was also trying to have the public understand the importance of the case, the constitutional rights for Jamaicans. I defended Adidja Palmer, Sean Campbell, Kahira Jones, and Andre St. John. They were four men who were incarcerated wrongfully in my mind, and I defended that. At no time was I defending Vibes Cartel, and people need to separate the artist from the human being. And in that, I had the opportunity to defend the Constitution before the highest court of the land. And I achieved that. Nobody can take that away from me.
No, that is right. Interestingly, you said that because looking through social media, I see where some people are assuming that you and Cartel now link again, and they didn't see you make any Freedom Street post, and like you mentioned, you started your Context Matters podcast. So with you,
Yes.
context do matter. So in this case, let's clear the air. I mean, Young
Let's clear
Cartel
let
still linking.
let's clear
Young
let's
Cartel
clear
and
the
link.
let's clear the air. Let me say this to you. Cartel might Cartel have a whole heap of labor right fans, a lot of them. And I will advise any artist, any musician, you are a business person, you have the opportunity to be a national icon like Bob Marley through God blessing you and your music. Do not go down the rabbit hole of submerging yourself in political life. Do not be a Vegas. At least be more talented than Vegas. So you don't have to seem like a real green shower ranger, submerging yourself in political life and you don't have the competence to do it. So let me make this absolutely and fundamentally clear. Cartel is the world boss. Cartel gave me a platform that people in Jamaica feel that it is just the vavavoons and the creme de la cremes who should have a post like that. A lot of the vitriol that was geared at me was for the simple fact that he was represented by Tom Tavares Finson, of Valerie Nita Robertson, who were Queen's Council and Queen's Councils as they then were. And because they couldn't do it, a black Rastaman could not do it. But the people were silenced, and Cartel, I wish him the best in his endeavors. I'm doing the politics thing now, but him is my brethren. May I'll have song with him.
No, let's talk about that. But you killed me just now talking about a green shower Power Ranger. Look, stop it.
Oh, you want to go back to that? Yeah, I'm not taking it back. I know.
No.
I'm just saying. I think
It is hilarious.
that dancehall artists, no, artists should understand that they present a lot of. There are people who, as they're listening to me now, that are going through hardship. They're going through. They're at the point and the edge where they don't even want to live, and they'll hear a song not just from Cartel. They probably even hear a Vegas song because he's had songs that are very motivational, and they